Hey, my name is Bex. Ignore this, I'm still rebalancing alchemy. And ignore that, I'm rebalancing Tempest machines. Focus on this. I've added more foods to chopping block, and I'm gonna keep adding more foods. Cake is placed down like usual, but it doesn't have the berry on top. Now, if you want berries on top, you'll have to craft it together with some sweet berries to get a sweet berry cake. Or you can craft it with 2 cherries to get a cherry cake. How do you get cherries? How do you think you get cherries? Both of these cakes can be placed down and eaten. They serve no purpose other than, visual decoration purposes. They look different. I do plan on adding more cakes. That is a thing that I will add. I also want to add more uses for cherries, and generally I just want to expand more on food in Minecraft, which is why I also added fish soup. This is cooked with a bowl, a potato, 2 of any fish, and a dried kelp. I've also added cherry pies, sweet berry pies, glowberry pies, and apple pies, each crafted with 1 egg, 1 sugar, and 2 of their respective fruits. I have also added pumpkin pies to my custom item engine, as well as cookies. Why would I add a duplicate of these items? I'm so glad you asked. It's so that I could use these items as placeholders in the method that I talked about in the first couple episodes of this season to create new items that will be used in recipes. Because items like cookies and pumpkin pie and these stews and soups are kind of the very end of those crafting chains. These aren't going to be used in any other recipes, so these can be replaced with just poisonous potatoes with some component trickery. This lets us use cookies as our surrogate for cherries, and it lets us use pumpkin pies for something else in the future, as well as the 3 soups that are in the vanilla game. Speaking of all the soups and stews though, they all stack to 16 now, which I hope will make players more likely to use them. Now, there is one other item that I have not really considered the place of because it could go in either of 2 directions. Here it is, it's the tropical fish. Now, I could transform pumpkin pies into cooked tropical fish and have another fish that is used in the fish soup. Or I could say that doesn't matter, we already have fish that can go in the soup, and I use tropical fish as a stand-in for yet another item, and I just add tropical fish as a duplicate using poisonous potatoes like I did here with cookies and pumpkin pie. And I don't know which direction I'm gonna go with it, because it could be either one. Now, you might rightfully be thinking, Bex, is bread not a part of this equation too? And that's a really good question. It is a part of this equation, however, I do want to expand on bread and include it in more crafting recipes, because I really don't think a staple like bread should just be the end of the line of crafting recipes. So yeah, I'm gonna be expanding on food. Feel free to comment suggestions down below for foods you might want to see added to chopping block, because I am very much open to suggestions here. I do want to add fruit bread that is crafted using berries and fruits, but I need a better texture first before I add it, because this is not good. This is really bad. In fact, that texture is so bad, I might just cut that section out of the video. That texture is really bad. Okay, so I need to talk about something that grinds my gears a little bit. Minecraft mods and data packs that expand on food systems. This is one thing that I absolutely it's just been weighing on my mind. And the first thing I want to do is concede that this may just be an issue with the packs that I'm seeing. Maybe I'm just not going out of my way to find packs that don't have the issue I'm about to describe, but I'm still going to describe the issue. So most data packs that expand food mostly focus on expanding what you can do with the veg options in food, which is cool. I'm all for that. Dude, vegetarian dishes are awesome. But very rarely do you see a mod that expands food that does very much with even the fishes or even bread. Bread, I've noticed, goes underutilized in so many food expansion packs. Bread is a staple food all around the world. There are a ton of things you can do with bread, and somehow no one ever adds an expansion to bread. However, a lot of packs that expand food options leave meats completely untouched. Now, I get that some of these packs make this decision with the idea in mind that it will disincentivize players from creating quote-unquote slaughterhouses or big overcramped animal pens. However, this just makes meat a useless item in the game, reduced to nothing except bloat, and thus reduces animals and livestock to nothing except decoration, which is fine if you want to use those mobs as just decoration or have them around as pets. I'm not trying to stop you from doing that at all. However, given the opportunity, players will optimize all of the fun out of the game. So if your argument is that technical players would still create farms like this, my argument is that technical players would not do that if meats were not the most optimal and efficient meat option. And here's the thing, they're not. Most technical players opt for golden carrots because carrots can be automatically farmed, gold can be automatically farmed, and failing that, if you have a villager trading setup, farmers at the top level give you golden carrots. So then it's just a matter of how big is your villager trading hall. However, if the most optimal and efficient food in the game is one which engages the player in multiple parts of gameplay, then they are less incentivized to create those giant, massive farms, or they are at least incentivized to engage with the game a little bit more outside of those farms. And so my conclusion here is that the most optimal food needs to combine all parts of the diet, which is why the two most powerful foods in Chopping Block are soups and stews that are created with both food families. They are both created using vegetables and they are created using meat. They engage both parts of gameplay. And that's what I want to do as I expand on food in Minecraft, is I want to engage multiple parts of gameplay in the variety of food that you can create. And yes, you can still eat your baked potatoes as a basic food source. You can still eat your cooked mutton or your cooked chicken from an automatic farm as a basic food source. However, if you just set up a little more time to craft, or even take the time to set up more farms and an auto crafter setup to create soups and stews that give you much more nutritional value and saturation, then you'll find that much more rewarding than just a single farm, at least in the late game. In the early game, yeah, I absolutely just eat baked potatoes all the time. However, early game foods I feel are meant to do just that. I feel like with the right foods and the right set of recipes and items, the food balancing in Chopping Block could be pretty okay. Also, do you like my fish soup texture? I made it myself. I really like it. Alright, well I just rambled for 35 minutes. That's gonna get cut down to approximately 8 minutes. I'm gonna go eat some food. Okay, I'll talk about it. Tempest machines. As a Z-list Minecraft YouTuber once said, Tempest machines will never be done. Alright, so here's the current iteration. Let's talk about it. So I kind of have a progression in mind, as well as this one machine that doesn't really fit into the progression. We need to figure out what to do with this. I'll talk about this. But the idea is that the sand sifter and the block breaker are made out of wood and stone respectively, creating kind of the start of a progression here. And then once you're later in the game, you can get not the alchemy chamber. I have gotten rid of the alchemy chamber because alchemy exists now, and this isn't alchemy. This is the transmute engine. It transmutes blocks, and before you say that's just, yeah, it is. I just changed the name and the texture. I combined the ore infuser and alchemy reactor textures into one because it's kind of doing the job of both design elegance. So that creates kind of a wood, stone, iron tiered progression, and especially because the player probably doesn't want to be wasting this much iron super early game to make a bunch of these. You'll also notice I got rid of the poison field. I just didn't think it needed to exist anymore. The block breaker and sand sifter work exactly as they did before. However, the big change is in the transmute engine. So this interacts with all the same blocks as the alchemy reactor, However, it interacts with stones and ores the same way that the ore infuser did, with a few subtle changes. So in its base state, that wasn't a very good example, it can turn stone into ores. However, the only ores that it can turn stone into are copper, iron, and coal. However, when they're upgraded with a cog, they can turn stone into different ores. It really doesn't want to right now, but it can go up to diamond. It can do every ore, and also every deep slate ore. Good luck charm? Nope, it really doesn't want to. So I think that helps Tempest machines fit into the purpose that I was talking about earlier in this series. Also, they all just are powered with redstone. Now, there is a big problem that I want to address, and that is why does the block deployer have an upgraded state? Upgrading a block deployer does not change its functionality at all. So either this needs to reject the upgrade and just drop the cog back on the ground for the player to pick up, or I really need to add an ascended function for this machine. Now, since the sand sifter and the block breaker are both essential to the beginning of the game, I had a pretty tough time figuring out which one should be crafted with wood and which one should be crafted with stone. However, I settled on the sand sifter being crafted with wood and the block breaker being crafted with stone, simply because of aesthetics, and they are both easy enough to get in the early game to justify both recipes. And boy, let me tell you, that balancing was, I'm still kind of insecure about it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I do read the comments. Oh, I also made some changes to the water tightness of the engine, so I will be posting an update to the mod size data pack engine very, very soon. I also added an advancement tree to chopping block. I am not going to show you all of the advancements because that would spoil the fun. But yes, I have added an advancement tree, and I plan on adding quite a bit to it. If you have access to the snapshots, then the advancement tree will seem a little weak in this snapshot. However, I do plan on adding more advancements in the future as time goes on, because we are not nearly done with content. There is so much that I want to add. I don't want to jinx it, but I've been having a lot of fun making data packs these days. So, this is a lot, but let's talk about it. So this is my attempt at approximating some kind of progression tree for chopping block at the moment. All the concrete is just letting us know that two systems match up at points where they're not like physically able to connect. It'll make sense as I show this off. So first you start on your tree in the void, and then from there are two places that you can go. You can build a mob farm using the wood that you get, but you can also strip the tree to get mulch and dirt, which lets you grow more trees and eventually lets you get seeds, which I will talk about in a second. But then from the mob farm you get bones and gunpowder, you can kill zombies to get stone chunks, and you can kill witches to get redstone. With the stone chunks you can make stone tools, you can get carrots and potatoes, which get you access to more food, and you can also get Tempest machines, which can be upgraded with a cog, which is crafted from the redstone that you get from killing a witch. And then once you have upgraded Tempest machines, specifically an upgraded block breaker and an upgraded sifter, then you are able to crush and sift blocks, which will get you access to metal chunks, and also seeds, which get you access to grass, which you can sift to get more seeds, which you can use to get more plants, which you can use to get more food. Hey, there's more food showing up again. This block isn't a continuity error, you're a continuity error. You can also get more seeds from the sniffer, which we'll come back to later. Anyway, once you've crushed and sifted some blocks, then you can get metal ingots, which gets you metal tools, which gets you more machines, which can get you diamonds, which gets you diamond tools. And currently, there's no way to upgrade those diamond tools to netherite, so we'll have to figure something out there. But from Tempest machines, you can also get Obsidian, which gets you to enchanting. It also gets you the Nether portal, which gives you access to piglin bartering, which will get you the fortress compass, which will be changed to the fortress map in the next episode because maps will now always show the direction the player is facing, which is why it is not a map right now. But once you find the fortress, you get access to lava, blaze, wither skeletons, and endermen, because endermen spawn more often in the nether fortresses. That all gets you access to potions. It gets you easier access to the Eye of Ender, which can lead you to the end portal. We'll talk about this also later. But once you have lava, you can now automate the creation of cobblestone. And hey look, Tempest Machines is coming back up again. But the metal ingots from the Tempest Machines tree earlier can be used to make cauldrons, which can get you rain, which gets you water. You can then fish in that water, which gets you enchanted books again. You also obviously get fish, which gets you more food. Metal ingots can be used in alchemy. More seeds gets you more flowers, which can be used in alchemy. And then gunpowder can be used in alchemy. And then bones can be turned into bone meal and then used on grass to get more flowers, which can be used on alchemy. And bones can be turned into bone meal, which can be used on grass to get more flowers, which can be used in alchemy. Zombies also drop carrots and potatoes, which are used in more food. And now here's something. More seeds is supposed to give you access to more trees and more wood types and a few different things. However, there is a problem. There's no way to get the sniffer. As you can see, it's floating here alone. Nothing's going to it. Nothing is pointing into the sniffer. Now, yes, you can get more wood types by buying saplings from the wandering trader sometimes, and I could also just add the sniffer egg to the wandering trader loot table, but I don't want to do that. I want this game to be beatable without the wandering trader, simply because some people like to play with it off, similar to how the original chopping block was always intended to be beatable without the use of loot bags. Speaking of, should I add loot bags back into the game? I totally could. But yeah, that's the current tree of chopping block. Now, most of this stuff can be done before you get to the nether. However, only a few things are actually locked behind the nether itself, those being potions, the end portal, the automation of cobblestone, but there's not a lot to do in the nether, and I kind of want to add some content there. Now, glowing obsidian was originally a block from the alchemy data pack. However, it is no longer useful in alchemy. So I've decided it is going to be moved to nether twigs, which is the pack that lets you do this and makes endermen spawn in nether fortresses. And because this is such a cool building block and I don't want to get rid of it, I want to add a way to renew it. And I want it to be something that you can only get in the nether. However, there's obviously not any terrain in the nether, so I'm going to have to rely on some dimensional properties. So someone suggested in my Discord server that a setup like this could possibly work. I am obviously thinking about confining this to the nether. Like, if you put this in the overworld, then it's just gonna make a big mess. But in the nether, it will create glowing obsidian. I'm also thinking it could possibly destroy the glowstone when it does that. Okay, so let's think here. So if this is easily, pretty much infinitely farmable from a single setup like this, even if the farming takes a long time, how does that affect gameplay? Previously, when this block was necessary for alchemy, I would say that it affects gameplay in a way that I would not compromise. However, the game has literally changed now, and glowing obsidian is pretty much just a decoration block, very similar to crying obsidian. And it can't possibly be given a crafting use, and giving it much of an otherwise functional use, I can't imagine. So I think it's fine. It's like the player being able to farm granite from a transmute engine. So I think that's where I'm at. Also, I'm gonna level with you guys. I've really been thinking about adding the Nether Reactor core back into the game. So you guys don't know and wouldn't recognize the project if you saw it, but a long time ago in 1.12, I made a functions pack that, among a bunch of other things, added the Nether Reactor core back into Java. Just because because it was fun and nostalgic, and I liked the idea. And I still like the idea, and I want to add it. In fact, if you know Ball, then you know that glowing obsidian is from Bedrock Edition anyway. Actually, it's from Pocket Edition. It doesn't appear in Vanilla Bedrock Edition. Yeah, okay, Jimmy Neutron, go tell me about your sodium chloride. But what's the harm in just a little more nostalgia bait, I feel like. Plus, it gives me a chance to put my own unique twist on it. It doesn't just have to be the vanilla Nether Spire from the original game. It can summon, I don't know, maybe some sort of boss? Who knows? I'm not in charge. That being said, there are some holes I need to patch in this data pack. Also, I do realize that a lot of the appeal of my older chopping block videos are the builds that I would feature in all of the episodes, and the set that I had constructed. You know, a set a little better than a survival test world with a floating quartz dev platform above it, and I would love to go back to building stuff like that again to show off the custom blocks and items that are within chopping block. However, slight problem, these are the only custom blocks in chopping block right now. There's not a lot for me to actually build with, and Tempest Machines is now a lot smaller. It's a lot more compact, and the designs are a lot more efficient. So there's not much to show off. I can't even build something basic to show off the energy conduits. The machines got a lot more impressive from a design perspective, but a lot less impressive from a visual perspective. So like, the answer is obvious, right? I need to add more custom blocks. And yes, that is correct. In fact, I already have a few ideas in mind. Basically, for every slab in the game, I can make a custom block, give or take a few for certain reasons. And the next update is adding slabs for all concrete colors. That means I'll be able to add 16 new colored blocks. Now, I do not plan on fully bringing back and updating Whole New World of Color and everything in that. However, I am going to add some new colored blocks, and you're gonna have to wait and see how those turn out. So I am thinking about adding new blocks for certain categories of blocks here. Like, who wouldn't love a new endstone block to build with, or a new purple block to build with? And I'm sure I could come up with some unique blocks of my own. But that's a job for the next episode. If you enjoyed, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new and you want to see more like this. My name is Bex, thanks for watching, and as always, thanks for watching. Alright, bye.